put on my microphone.
All the minutes at once?
Yep. It's now 6 o'clock, and I'm calling the Town Hall meeting for the Bel Air Board of Town Commissioners for December the 18th to order at 6 p.m. Could we call the roll, please? We're going to have to work without Mr. Krantz tonight, and we'll start with Chief Moore.
Chuck Moore, Chief of the Bel Air Police Department.
Stephen Klein, Director of Public Works.
Angela Robertson, Economic Development.
Pamela Walkenfuss, Deputy Director of Finance.
Kevin Small, Director of Planning.
Elizabeth Thompson, Town Council.
Eddie Hopkins, Town Administrator, and Mike Krantz tonight.
Okay.
Jim Rutledge, Town Commissioner.
Steve Chismar, Town Commissioner.
Paula Edding, Chair.
Mary Chance, Town Commissioner.
All right. Commissioner Taylor will not be with us this evening, and if we could now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. First, we have the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
I move we approve the agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And I'd like to move to amend the agenda so that number 7, public comments on new business items, is heard after each new business item under 8. We only have A and B this evening. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. All right, any discussion? All right, if we could vote. Mr. Hopkins, could you call the roll?
Thank you. I know we kind of mixed it up for you tonight, Madam Chair. Thank you. So we'll be voting on the minutes, approval of the agenda, Commissioner Rutledge,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Chismar,
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor is absent, Commissioner Chance,
Aye.
and Chair Edding.
Aye.
And the motion is approved.
Next, we have approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
Make the motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Commissioner Chance. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. And the motion is that the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meetings held on November 28th, 2023, December 4th, 2023, and December 11th, 2023 be approved as submitted. Any discussion?
Yes, I do, Madam Chair.
Mhm.
On the minutes of December the 11th, in the
Yes.
section of Commissioners' comments, Roman numeral 7, where it has my explanation of my abstention on those votes,
Yes.
I had announced was explaining my abstention on those zoning matters that had come up for vote, and that the basis was that then I explained the rest of the context of that pending the Board of Ethics ruling, and I'd like that to be noted, that my abstention was from the votes that had come up that evening, and that it is pending a Board of Ethics ruling.
All right, so we're moving to amend the minutes to reflect that, correct?
That is correct.
All right, do I have a second for that amendment?
I second.
All right, any discussion?
No.
All right, in that case, you
Call
can
the roll.
call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Rutledge,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Chismar,
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor is absent, Commissioner Chance,
Aye.
and Chair Edding.
Aye.
Motion is approved.
All right. And first on our agenda this evening for public hearing is resolution number 1215-23, amending of the resolution 1082-17 for the Town of Bel Air Armory Marketplace leasing fee schedule. Do I have a motion?
Sure. I move the resolution 1215-23, amending resolution 1082-17 for the Town of Bel Air Armory Marketplace leasing fee schedule be approved by the Bel Air Board of Town Commissioners.
And do I have a second?
Second.
And Ms. Robertson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chapter 192-1 of the Bel Air Town Code authorizes the Board of Town Commissioners to establish fees for certain town services, publications, documents, licenses, and petitions. The Armory Marketplace leasing fee schedule was reviewed to determine if rates continue to be fair and consistent for applicants interested and eligible to lease a unit or units located in the incubator facility. Tenants for the Armory Marketplace Business Incubator Program who sign a lease with a start date after December 31st, 2023, will be subject to the proposed new fee schedule. The current rates, which have not changed since the inception of the Armory Marketplace program in 2017, have been increased to align with changes to market conditions and to account for financial obligations incurred by the town of Bel Air through the operation of Armory Marketplace. The rates are offered at below market, as is customary for all incubator facilities across the country, and they reflect the features available for on-site for tenants. Lease rates for existing tenants with a lease starting date prior to January 1, 2024 would not be affected by the increase as outlined in Resolution 1215-23.
Thank you. Any discussion or questions from the commissioners?
No.
Any public comment on this single piece of legislation? All right, there being no public comment, I'm going to close the period for public comment, and we'll go on to number 6, unfinished business, and I believe we call the vote. Motion? Oh, we need a motion, sorry. So we already did the motion, actually, Liz. And the second.
You did the motion.
We did the motion. We did,
We did.
at any
Okay.
rate.
Okay, Madam Chair, I'll call the roll in regards to resolution number 1215-23, amending resolution -1082-17 for the Bel Air Town Armory Marketplace leasing fee schedule. Commissioner Rutledge.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Chismar.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor is absent. Commissioner Chance.
Aye.
Chair Edding.
Aye.
The motion is approved, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Next, we have, under new business, ordinance 822-23, repealing and replacing the Bel Air Town Code, Chapter 43, Code of Ethics. Ordinarily, this would be Mr. Krantz, but do I have a motion?
Yes, I move that ordinance number 822-23, repealing and replacing Bel Air Town Code, Chapter 43, entitled Code of Ethics, be received by the Board of Town Commissioners.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
And ordinarily, I would look to Mr. Krantz, but I'm going to look to Mr. Hopkins tonight.
Gets to be my show tonight. Thank
It
you,
is.
Madam Chair. As you're aware, I know yourself, our counsel, Elizabeth Thompson, and Mr. Krantz have worked extensively on this for the last couple of months. But on background, Section 1-1409, Local Government Article of the Code of the State of Maryland, requires local government entities to adopt a code of ethics for the authority's directors, officers, and employees. And the Town of Bel Air Code, Chapter 43, Code of Ethics, was last amended by the Bel Air Board of Town Commissioners on December 3rd, 2018, by Ordinance 787-18. Our primary issues are the State of Maryland and House Bill 363 and House Bill 1058, enacted during the 2021 General Assembly legislative session, made modifications to the State of Maryland's ethics laws requiring changes to local government ethic laws, and the Bel Air Board of Town Commissioners wish to repeal and replace the Bel Air Town Code, Chapter 43, Code of Ethics, with the recommended Maryland State Ethics Commission, Appendix A, Model Ethics Law, A, amended accordingly to reference the Town of Bel Air and the Bel Air Board of Ethics. The adoption of the Maryland State Ethics Commission Model Ethics Law for municipalities will align the code with the State of Maryland ethics laws. This will facilitate making amendments whenever the Maryland General Assembly modifies the state ethics laws in the future. I know that in each of your binders, Mr. Krantz has provided the ordinance and the attached exhibits for review and consideration over the next several weeks. Staff recommends that ordinance number 822-23 be received by the Board of Town Commissioners. A public hearing will be held on January the 16th, 2024 at 6 p.m. at the Bel Air Town Hall, 39 Hickory Avenue in Bel Air, Maryland.
Thank you, Mr. Hopkins. Any questions of Mr. Hopkins by the board?
No.
Any discussion?
Madam Chair, if I can, for just a second, I just wanted to let the commissioners know, I was copied on an email, I believe came in on Friday from the state. Mr. Krantz had sent this most recent version that's in front of you now to the state. They gave it sort of a preliminary, yeah, it looks good kind of thing, and they are going to send it on to their ethics board for final approval, but you can still proceed forward. I just wanted to let you know we are still working with the state and following their guidelines as well.
That's great because it sounds like it's making progress, and I think we'll be able to wrap
Right.
this up pretty quickly.
Yes, ma'am.
So we will need the state's approval of our ethics code prior to voting?
You're not voting, you're just voting
Well,
to
not
accept it
tonight.
now.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, not tonight, but I
We
mean,
will
eventually,
need-
when it comes
yeah.
before a vote to accept the ordinance.
Correct. I would strongly recommend that the state give their blessing, if it's informal in writing, like they did before. And so we
Okay.
know that we're complying with everything the state
Right.
requires.
Okay.
And there'll be a public hearing on January 16th, so we won't be voting until at least
that,
then.
right.
So we are,
Correct.
we have some time. They have some time to take a look at it, as do we. And I think everybody should read it. The more eyes, the better, because it's a large piece of legislation, the possibility of a typo or, some other kind of inadvertent error is
Can change
greater,
meetings,
the greater the document is, and this is a wholesale adoption of what the state has mandated as, I think it's Model A that we're adopting.
Correct. Conceptually, it's a bit more involved, but conceptually, it remains the same as far as our existing code. Just bringing into compliance certain things that the General Assembly wanted and kind of bringing it more up to speed, I think, to a more modern code, if you will.
I agree with town council. I know Mr. Cranston worked very hard on this. It was initially an attempt to incorporate the most recent changes required by the state of Maryland into our existing code. That became somewhat difficult because a question came, where do you put it? And then it affected other sections.
Certainly.
And after a while, it became apparent that the cleanest way to do this and the best way in the future to be able to quickly adopt any changes required by the state was to just wholesale re-adopt Model A. There's really no substantive changes to our ethics code other than the ones that the state has required us to make.
Correct. That's correct, Madam Chair.
And Madam Chair, if I may, pardon me, if I may add, I fully anticipate by the time you receive this, this will be vetted by the state. Mr. Colquhoun and his assistant have worked with us daily, and their responses to all of our inquiries and questions, day and evening, have been incredibly timely. So I anticipate we'll have a full vetting process prior to your vote.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is their wheelhouse, and they're pretty quick at taking a look at it. And since we are really wholesale adopting with some minor changes in language, because we have an ethics commission and it's at board, those kind of minor things, we're just adopting what the state requires us to do. So it's really
Yes, ma'am.
not terribly, we have to be careful with it, the technical aspects, but it's not much of a change at all. It's just what we have to do. Anything further from the board? All right, at this time, I would take public comment if anyone wants to comment strictly on this piece of new business. And there being none. All right, we're ready for a vote. Mr. Hopkins. We are just voting to accept it, not voting on the piece itself.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. Commissioner Rutledge,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Chismar,
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor is absent, Commissioner Chance,
Aye.
and Chair Edding.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion is approved.
All right. 8B under new business, discussion of the use of the Town Hall Rotunda for outside entities. Mr. Hopkins, we're going to give us some background on this?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you very much. Several weeks ago, Mr. Michael Krabs, who's the general manager of the Harford County Liquor Control Board and is in the audience with us tonight, had approached Mr. Krantz on utilization, asking for permission to utilize the town rotunda for a liquor control board hearing. Mr. Krantz came to me. This has been an accepted past practice under previous town administrators. Essentially, from what I understood, typically for these hearings, the audience was rather large. Liquor Control Board would prefer a dais type of setting and also the opportunity to have their proceedings recorded. We tentatively approved their request. We discussed the needs. Mr. Krabs was aware that business, despite the hearing, business would still be able to be conducted in Town Hall, which meant the finance office and the administrative offices would be open. He expressed that would not be a problem. And then also he was looking for audio support, which we were able to provide him. The previous rotunda before renovation had audio support. We had audio support here. The only thing that he would need to do would be shown how to turn the system on and off, or we could do that and then provide his own USB or SIM card in order to record the audio proceedings. That's really all that they would be required of us, and this would be potentially a day-long proceeding, as it is a hearing. We had performed the typical notifications to staff and to the commissioners that this was something we would do, and you and I had discussed some concerns that you might have, and you asked if I would have Mr. Krabs present before the body tonight to discuss any questions you or the other commissioners may have regarding that. So with that, Madam Chair, I'll turn back to you or invite Mr. Krabs to the podium.
Well, I'm going to invite Mr. Krabs to the podium because I did have a couple of questions, Mr. Krabs. And my first question is, I've been on the board for like 2 years, and I don't recall any prior requests from the liquor board to use our facility.
Right, in these hearings, first of all, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board, thank you for having me tonight. Many of you may know. Just your full name. Oh, I'm sorry, it's Michael Krabs, I'm the current General Manager of the Liquor Control Board at 16 North Main Street. Most of you know me here, some of you may not. So just to give you a real quick snippet of my background, after 48 and a half years in law enforcement, I'm retired. So I retired originally from Baltimore County after 20 years, and then I did 20 and a half years at the Sheriff's Office. This position came along as the General Manager. I thought it would be something additionally that I could do to help serve the community, so I took the position. So what we do in these particular hearings is there haven't been a need to have a hearing. When licenses are, thank you. I didn't know how to turn it on. I thought it was already on. When liquor licenses are applied for in the county, it has to be posted in advance, 30 days in advance. It has to be advertised in a newspaper. It's posted at the location. Those surrounding businesses and neighborhoods can come to a hearing for the approval of the license itself. So we've been notified that this particular time there is a need for 2 hearings. Both of the applications are for liquor stores. And there will be other liquor store owners who are represented by counsel. And of course, the applicant is represented by counsel. And they will come in and they will both describe why there is a need, and then the protestants will describe why they don't want it. So that's basically the way it operates. It's normally a long day hearing because there's experts that come in to talk about traffic control and what the need and accommodations are for the neighborhoods that they're going to be in the surrounding area and where the establishment will be placed. So it's normally in the morning, and then there's a lunch break, and then we come back in the afternoon. And then there's a hearing. And then the board doesn't make a decision that day. They have time to make the decision and write their decisions up. So I know you're familiar with that part of the process. We would supply our own SD card. It'll be brand new in the package. I'm very familiar with how to operate recording equipment, other than turning this microphone on just a couple minutes ago.
We won't hold that against you.
Thank you. But other than that, there won't be any. There should be. I wouldn't say there will never be any problems, but they're very limited because it's represented by counsel. They both describe why they want it and why they don't want it, and then that's basically the hearing itself.
So for the last 2 years, you haven't had any of those types of hearings?
We haven't had any. There was licenses that were applied for, but there were no protestants. Nobody protested. And when to protest, they send us an email. They notify the board that, hey, I'd like to oppose this particular license going into this location. So there have been new businesses that have opened and had liquor licenses, but there haven't
Nobody
been.
was
Yes, ma'am.
opposing them.
Nobody's opposed. Yes, ma'am.
So where had you had hearings previously?
There was some at the county council building. There was some at the library. It just depends on what the location is. We try to keep it centrally located because people come from all over. And this particular first hearing is for a localized, just outside the town limits of Bel Air location. And there will be people from, business owners from the town of Bel Air that will be here. As protestants, by the way.
Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Krabs?
So you expect the rotunda, the seating to be pretty full? I expect that this is a lot larger. We only can have a capacity of 16 by fire marshal code in our office. Okay. I don't know whether you're familiar with our office, but you're really welcome to stop by any time and come in and see our facility. We have a very, very small meeting room. It's about maybe the half the size of this. Right. No. My concern, I just wanted to understand how many citizens do we come in using the finance and administrative offices a day typically? Because they're going to be speaking through the windows and all. So
I've never been here
So
when there wasn't somebody that came
the
through one of
interference
these
going
two
on.
windows. And that is one of my concerns, not to
Yeah.
interrupt
No, I just
you.
right. No, I just like to know what on a given day, how many customers do we get? 10 to 15. 10 to 15. Yes, sir.
I would like to say that
Yes, ma'am.
it seems to me that we have a perfect location. Yes, there is business that gets carried on, but it's not long conversation here at this window. If you want to come in to this offices, it's usually an employee who goes to that office. If it's somebody coming in to pay their bills, they go up to the window, they pay their bill, and they leave. We have just built this wonderful facility, although this part of it hasn't changed. It belongs to the town. It belongs to the citizens of this town. I don't understand why we wouldn't welcome it. It's not that it happens all the time, every week, every other month, whatever. This is definitely something different for you.
Yes, ma'am.
I feel that we can accommodate you without any major issue. It's not that big of a deal if somebody wants to come in and pay their bill while something's going on. And if they do come in, they're going to realize there's a hearing going on or there's discussion going on. They're not going to say, hey, I want to pay my bill, and be a disruption. I really do feel that wouldn't say have an obligation, but I certainly think we should be welcoming you.
Thank you. And what I will say is we haven't had a disruption at all. There's really no problems in them. And the meetings are all open to the public. The general public can come in, so they
Right.
may want to join us if they come in to see something that they're doing business here and say, oh, well, let me sit and listen to this, and they're more than welcome. As long as there's a room, we're not over the fire marshal's amount, which I don't think we will be.
Yeah.
Then we'll be fine. And we'll limit that. I mean, we'll watch that and keep track of that.
Excuse me, Mike, I
Yes, sir.
think I remember there was a hearing here several years ago, right?
Yes, sir,
Because
there
I came
was.
in and watched some of it, just seeing what's going on. I don't think there was too many disruptions at that time,
No, it wasn't, Chief.
if I
Thank you.
recall. Yeah.
Yes, sir, thank you.
I mean, Commissioner Chance, I agree with some of your points. I think we ought to make best use of this facility. It is a
I do
public
too.
facility.
It sits
and-
here
and-
empty.
And all. I just wanted to make sure that the citizens wouldn't be, it wouldn't be a detriment to them and all. And if there's going to be that few, and, I'm kind of okay with doing that.
I'm not so okay with it, and I think it is not the perfect place for this because it is open to the citizens who are coming in to conduct business. And I've never been in here when I haven't seen people going to one of the two windows. And I personally, if I came in and I saw there was a hearing going on, I'd probably go, uh-oh, I think I need to come back another time. And I think it's disruptive to town business because residents are not going to feel terribly comfortable coming in to conduct business while there's obviously a hearing going on with council representing participants.
If I might add, we'll have somebody posted at the door to let them know they're more than welcome to come in. There'll be a sign posted. It's under the Open Meeting Act, it's required to be open to the public.
Well, I know it's open to the public to
Correct.
participate in the hearing, but this is not just a hearing room.
Yes,
It
ma'am.
is our administrative offices where citizens come to conduct business. The other room that we have is available. And we ourselves, when we were out of this room because of construction, we used the library, we used the armory.
What
You
type
don't-
of recording equipment did you use, if you don't mind me asking?
We didn't use any recording equipment at the time, other than
Okay.
minutes.
Okay,
And that is our official record, is the minutes, not the recording.
right, we're
So-
required, I'm sorry, I interrupted. We're
Go ahead.
required to record them because it could be, whatever decisions made by the board can be appealed to circuit court. So we're required to record them because there has to be verbatim language that was stated at the meeting itself, at the hearing.
And so what do you do before we had this facility as far as recording?
We had to hire outside location, and we had to hire an outside company. And if you're familiar with us or not, we're self-funded. We're a quasi-government agency. We are not funded by the county, even though the title is Hartford County Liquor Control.
I know, you're actually a state agency.
Correct.
Correct.
May I ask, how many days are you thinking that you would need this facility in
There-
the upcoming months?
There are only 2 dates right now where anything's scheduled. Well, anything would be scheduled. If we get permission here, we'll still have to schedule it. And then find an alternate location. The dilemma is, we have to get it out within 30 days, so we have to have a decision in a very short period of time because we need to get let the public know it has to be advertised. So if we're not unfortunate to be able to get this location, then we'll have to find another location. And what's happened is it will postpone it, which then affects the applicant.
Right.
Because now everybody, all the parties involved will have to be postponed.
Right.
And have to make other arrangements.
I'm sorry, did you already advertise this site?
No, ma'am, we did not yet.
Okay.
We just got the dates put in to make sure that nobody was in conflict.
Okay, they're holding the calendar dates.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Madam Chair, I do have just a couple of questions.
Sure.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
so, just so I understand, under your recording requirement for the record to go up to the court, can that be satisfied with a court reporter? Or does it have to be an audio recording?
No, it could be as long as it's recorded. So it has to be recorded.
So a court reporter, like a typical administrative record going up on appeal, that would
Correct.
be a transcript of the recordings, that would suffice?
That's correct.
So you don't necessarily have to have a audio recording on the USB or the SIM card?
No, past practice has been that we've audio recorded, and in order to stay consistent with past practice, we would stay with an audio type recording. And the reason we do that is for consistency throughout. The applicants are familiar with that. The attorneys that we deal with are familiar with that's how the process works. And we actually only had, before my time, they had one appeal that went to circuit court. So
then
these
the-
are very rarely appealed.
So the attorneys would have to get their own transcriptionists to transcribe it? And
Correct.
they'd all be discussing whether whoever typed it up got it right or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So then, with regard to the audio record, you don't need it to be video recorded, correct?
No, sir, do not.
And are you asking to use our video equipment?
No, sir, I'm not.
You're asking only to use audio equipment,
Yes, sir.
and that would be accessible in this room? Have you been oriented to where it is?
I would be prior to the,
Okay. So, and this may be a question for our town administrator then. Our recording device technically is accessed right here in this room, the rotunda?
That's correct. That's correct, yes, sir.
So it would not require going through the private entry door over there at the administrator's office?
No, sir.
So that's different between from our audio recording, our video recording system and our simulcast?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. And so I'm not sure who, well, you from a technological standpoint, I think you can understand where I'm coming from here, is just making sure that anything that is inserted in our recording device is not linked to our servers in this building. Is that correct?
That's correct. Mr. Krantz and I had discussed this ahead of time, and Les, are you looking down? Would somebody else want to?
No, I just didn't know whether anybody else had any.
No, my understanding from this particular system is that you would just put the SIM card in the system. It doesn't connect to the server. It's just the audio recording.
and we use a similar system at our office. It's just that our office won't accommodate the size of the people that we expect they're the size
Yeah,
of the group.
that would be my main concern, that gets verified. There's absolutely no link to our servers, as, you know, just to make sure there's no potential anything at all that would be able to access, penetrate, or infest, not intentionally, but inadvertently. We live in the time of great cyber attacks, so I
We'd be
think we
more
need
than
to be-
happy to provide either you guys buy one and we'll reimburse you. Make sure that you buy exactly what you want. Or we'll provide, I mean, Mr. Krantz did send me a picture of exactly the kind that you use. I can buy that and leave it in a sealed package till we come in and show it to you and then work it that way. However
Yeah,
you
and
wanna
I'd
do
leave that to the technology people more on, to guarantee there's absolutely no residue, nothing can be linked or left inside. There can be no type of Trojan horse, anything at all left inside of the machine from an outside USB drive.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hopkins, do we have any kind of a policy on the use of our room and AV equipment?
No, ma'am, candidly, and in my history, this has always been a handshake agreement partnership with the governmental agencies. When they've asked us for assistance, we've offered. There's no written policy that I'm aware of.
And my understanding is you're going to use our audio equipment.
Yes, ma'am, audio equipment only.
And how can you use the audio equipment in this room? I thought all the works were back there.
The sound
It's
system's
right down
beneath
here?
you.
Okay, so they can access it here with a SIM
Right.
card
Yes,
or
ma'am,
whatever?
right behind these two closed
Okay.
doors here. Yes, ma'am.
Yep.
Right behind, just to be clear, behind the closed doors on this podium.
You're sitting right behind the
Right,
sound
Right
system.
behind it?
Right.
Yep, it's right in front of
Right.
you, sir, right here.
Yep.
I understand that the county council chambers would be perfect for you because they don't use it to conduct any other business. Have you asked them?
They have conflicting dates for those particular dates. And a lot of times they'll have things during the day, and we have our meetings during the day. We have our hearings during the day. So my
That's-
understanding is when the call was made that the dates were not conducive
Didn't
for
work.
them to, yes, ma'am.
But you could use the library or our community room.
I don't know that your community room
It's
is
not big
audio
enough.
recording.
How many
It's-
people are you gonna have?
Ma'am, I just don't, there's no way to tell because it's open to the public in general.
Right.
We could have people just show up that are interested, that live in the neighborhood, say, oh, I rode by the business and saw the
Saw the
sign, so I
notice.
want to go here.
The community room isn't really set up for this kind of an arrangement, and certainly with the trying to record anything, it definitely is not. This room is perfect for it. I don't understand what your issue is. I really do not.
Because it's where citizens come to conduct business with the town. And it's 2 days. It's 1 month and it's the following month.
2 days out of 60 days.
Right.
I just think
It's where our residents come to conduct business. That's the problem I have with it.
Yeah, I think, honestly, they don't stand there and conduct business for 5 minutes at a time. They don't. A person comes in, pays their bill, and leaves. If somebody comes here to this door and they want to speak to Mr. Krantz or whoever, they go in the door. They're not standing here conducting business for minutes upon minutes of time. They're in and out. I don't really see the issue. I just don't.
It's equivalent to me of having a meeting where the finance office is. I mean, because that is the finance office.
It is the finance office, but if I come in that back door and want to pay my bill while this meeting is going on, and it's 2:00 in the afternoon, I come to the window, I hand them my information, I pay my bill, and I leave. That's it.
I would probably leave before I pay the bill thinking I've, stumbled into a meeting that I don't want to disrupt.
But once again, they will have someone at the door saying, you're more than welcome to come in and pay your bill. Yes, there's a meeting going on. Please feel free.
And you're
It's
still open for
simple.
business. We'll ensure that they're informed when they come up that you're open for business. We're not going to disrupt the town's business. That's not the idea or the goal at all. We don't want to disrupt the community. We're here to service the community just like you are.
I have another just practical question about the window at finance, and I don't know whether, you can answer that. If a citizen comes up, and there's a couple times I did come to the finance window to talk about some real estate issues, and had other people been standing right behind me, I would have asked, is there a place that we could talk more confidentially? Is that allowed? I mean, is there a means if somebody has more of a sensitive question? Maybe they're having trouble, maybe their spouse just lost their job, something like that, why they can't pay. Is there any kind of way I can, and things that they might not be so willing to disclose, is there a procedure for them to be able to talk to folks in finance more privately?
Let me defer to Ms. Walkenfuss.
Okay.
Pam?
We haven't had that. We have never had an issue like that. But I mean, there's spaces that we could use, across the hall, the conference room or somewhere.
So would you be able to talk with your staff about like the day of this hearing, that if anybody feels uncomfortable about trying to talk about their personal items while there's maybe a crowd of people gathering in the back, maybe standing room only, who knows, that that could be accommodated on that day?
Yeah, we could have a plan in place.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions?
I have no questions of this witness.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Pratt.
you.
So, shall we,
Do we move forward?
that's my question. You're
How do we
okay with
handle
it?
this? I'm okay with it.
Jim?
I mean, I think there's other, they can mitigate some of the impacts.
No, I think that it's a rare enough occasion that's needed. I certainly appreciate you know, Madam Chair, your concerns.
Yeah.
My main concern is resolved, as so long as we can get verification on from the technological side. Sounds like it's a closed system that has no other, you know, access and doesn't require its operation in any other area other than this one. And with the accommodation from finance, in case that one day was a person that, you know, was a little embarrassed to talk about why they couldn't make their payment or needed some accommodation, had some people standing right behind them, felt uncomfortable, as long as we can make, you know, our customers in this town certainly feel that we're a customer-friendly environment. With those two concerns, if they can be satisfied, Mr. Administrator, I don't object to this.
And my big concern is the folks that are gonna come in and do business. I've seen people coming in to pay their red light tickets and, you know, some other things, and sometimes they have some issues. So if finance is ready to take care of that and IT's not concerned.
Madam Chair, if I may, Mr. Krebs and I have served together in law enforcement, so I'm very comfortable working closely with him to mitigate those problems. I will bring this up at our staff meeting with staff to make sure that we're looking ahead at whatever dates he has, and then try to keep a close watch. And if on the first day we run into problems, we'll know how to fix those going forward for the next one.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Next, we have public announcements. I think we have completed all of our new business. Public announcements. Winter Wonderland is still operating. Downtown Bel Air is still shining bright with beautiful light displays from 5 to 11 p.m. every evening until January the 1st. The last Bel Air Holiday Market will be held on Saturday, the 23rd, from 9 to 12 at 121 South Main Street, which is Das Beer Hall. There are only a very few shopping days until Christmas. It is 1 week from today, so I suggest everybody leave this meeting and go finish whatever Christmas shopping they have to do locally, because shipping is not so certain. This will be our last meeting until our next work session, which will be on January the 9th at 5:15 p.m. in Town Hall. There will be no meeting on January the 2nd for the Town Commissioners. And there is no meeting tomorrow night of the Board of Appeals, correct? So there is no meeting tonight for that. And with that, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year,
Madam
because we
Chair,
won't be here till
we-
January.
Town
Yes,
Council
sir.
and I had two specific announcements
That's
for your
correct.
request. So if I may go first,
Mhm.
Board of Ethics will meet this Wednesday night here on the 20th at 6 p.m.?
6:30.
6:30 p.m. here in the Rotunda. The meeting is a public meeting up until they go into closed session. The first part of that meeting, they will be reviewing the ethics code and rules and procedures and accepting as such, or at least reviewing them for possible acceptance, and then they will move into closed session. Liz?
So they will be reviewing 82223 to provide any feedback to you as the board. I did also want to point out, it's not on the agenda, but the rules of procedure are to be handled for advisory opinions under the current code and the new incoming code, should you pass it. It's also to set forth the quasi-judicial rules that the board needs to operate under Maryland law. So that was, we're utilizing a model that we took from the city of Rockville that me and Mr. Krantz worked through. Also, there are various forms that Mr. Krantz had already begun to formulate, such as requests for advisory opinions and complaints to the Board of Ethics. I think that would really standardize and make the process easier for really anyone who wanted to or needs the services of the Board of Ethics. This includes the staff as well, who is covered under the Board of Ethics. So that's going to be on Wednesday. The other thing that happened very, very recently at 11:55 a.m., my office was notified by the Supreme Court of Maryland that the Town of Bel Air's petition for writ of certiorari before the Supreme Court in the matter of Town of Bel Air versus Barton Bode et al. Has been granted. So all of the issues raised in the petition have been accepted by the court. So I will be requesting a closed session at the next work session to discuss more details. But I wanted to let you guys know that.
Oh, thank you for that update.
Certainly.
Appreciate it. And any more public announcements from anyone? Have we missed any Christmas activities? activities? All right, in that case, we're at public comments. If you would like to make a public comment, if you are an individual, you will have 3 minutes. If you are representing a group, you will have 5 minutes, and you have to state your name and your address for the record.
That little green light.
I'm with the liquor board too. I guess we don't know how to use these microphones.
You need a
Wayne
training
Goddard-
session.
Yeah, Wayne Goddard, 128 North Bond Street. Originally, I had come here to wish you all a Merry Christmas, but I did not know Mr. Krabs was going to be here. So I'm the chairman of the Hartford County Liquor Board, and just to speak to some of your concerns, we would tremendously appreciate being able to use this facility. It is set up perfectly for what we need. I would say that we have about one of these per year. The last one we did have at the council chambers, and I think the reason why we're making this request here today is because we had to cut our meeting short because the council needed it for something else. So everyone had to pick up their belongings and walk down the street to the liquor board where we were over capacity and people were upset. Having said that, I would imagine that there was a way that we could configure these chairs so that we probably would only need about the first 3 rows maximum, because typically we have about maybe 10 people that are actually in the audience, and then it's the 5 of us plus the staff plus the attorney. So your room is set up beautifully to do that, because it would be where you're sitting. In fact, I would have the honor of sitting where you are, Mayor Edding, since I'm the chairman, and then the lawyers could sit there and we could present testimony, and would probably be very efficient. So my point is, if you would be kind enough to let us use your room, we would be definitely able to set it up in a way that would be unintrusive. I actually do sympathize with Rutledge, because I've had instances where I've actually found my properties in the paper for tax sale, and I had to go talk about it. So I know what you mean. So anyway, thank you, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
All right. Anyone else here to make a public comment?
Hi, my name is Scott Agar. I reside at 306 Plantation Lane, Bel Air. I'm representing Tollgate Village, situated off of Tollgate Road. At the last meeting I attended 2 weeks ago, I stated that our community wanted to be part of the solution as respects the Hartford Mall. At this meeting, I'll be presenting a paradox. First, I will offer a solution or solutions to part of the problems of the development, but in doing so, I will present a problem. Sorry to be the token angry member of the public. The problem first. In review of the minutes and agendas of the Planning Commission and the Town Board, I was unable to locate any meaningful discussion or notation on how or why the definition of mixed-use center was changed, other than, quote, clarification. The draft of my summary sent to you this morning was handed to the planning director during a meeting with him on December 4th. A more refined version was transmitted later that same day, along with a request to provide it to the Planning Commission and Town Council. As of today, no written response has been received other than they're looking into it. That by itself does not mean that better information is not forthcoming. Without this definition change, the Hartford Mall apartments would not meet code, in effect DOA. The fact that this change occurred during the review of this proposed development is curious at best, since this change appears to have only one beneficiary, this applicant. Were the members of the current board that approved Ordinance 81323 aware of the impact of this definition change this past July? I can understand if you did not. In the absence of compelling information to the contrary, that, as I mentioned, may be forthcoming, this definition change begs questions under Open Meetings Act compliance, full disclosure, and good faith. At this juncture, it's not good optics, it shocks the conscience. Now some solutions, or a solution. I request that the board consider a resolution to roll back the recent changes in the definition of mixed-use center to that, in effect, prior to Ordinance 81323's passage. I will forego the other two for this time. I also want to make note that observers of the December 7th Planning Commission meeting were provided with illustrations of bias, struggles with formulating thoughts, and what appeared to be a disturbance in the time-space continuum. The latter refers to at least 3 instances where prior votes and information displays were resurrected or reopened later in that same meeting. I also have a neutrality concern. There were 2 requests for a detailed master plan and 2 requests for copies of the leases at the mall. On 2 occasions, Mr. Small and Ms. Thompson reminded the commissioners their information requests would necessitate an open meeting. Based on the commissioners' reactions, it appears open meetings are something to be avoided at all costs. Were these the only reminders owed? Were they reminded about the long history of detailed master plan requests and the applicant's failure to produce? This gave the impression they were coaching to avoid. And again, it's just an impression. Was the result information suppression? Was this influence correct? Was the public accounted for in these reminders? Does public service exist without the public? My acumen for due diligence was trust but verify, and trust is earned but not given. During the discourse regarding the previously mentioned leases, Ms. Thompson appeared to suggest a different approach to due diligence. If I were to condense it, it would be, you can accept their word for it, that there's a lease on there. That could be deciphered to imply trust but not verify, and trust is given, not earned. While I clearly disagree with the notion, anyone that heeds such suggestions need to be challenged, and I would caution providing that form of advice in the future. More to follow in the new year. Thank you for your time, and thank you for not disrupting my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Agar. Is there anyone else that would like to make a public comment at this time? No? And we are moving on to commissioners' comments. Any comments from the commissioners?
No, I have none at this time.
No.
No.
Well, I'm going to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, since we won't be here until after the first of the year. And it's only a week until Christmas from today. Good luck.
Need a motion to adjourn?
Well, since we've reached the end of our agenda, we are adjourned. We don't.
Okay.
We've reached the